Anyways, from Austin, Texas, got to give a condolence out, actually a few. A blast happened today. Very, very unfortunate. Cleburne, Texas. 3 people were killed and several others injured after a natural gas line in North Texas erupted earlier today, spewing massive flames into the air. Unfortunately, we've seen images like this. It seems to be happening a lot lately. These disasters that are happening that are somehow associated with our need for fuel. And when I say fuel, not literally, but our need for products to make our world go round, whether it be all these mining accidents that are happening or the BP oil spill. Now, today, a natural gas line blew up. Cleburne City Manager Chester Nolan told the Associated Press that at least 3 people died and there could be more. An unknown number of people remain unaccounted for. Now, as we know, news changes minute to minute to minute. There could already be more people dead from this. I pulled my statistics earlier. So I wanted to give condolences down to everybody in Texas. The victims, the people that have not yet been found. Let's send a prayer for them that they're accounted for and they're healthy and they're okay. Also for the families, not just the people that have perished. When one person passes away, I mean, it affects a whole multitude of people. And I think right now I really just want people to think about this. And I'm not going to pontificate on this and get into a long diatribe. We've got some other stuff to get into tonight. But I just want people to think about so many people's lives and livelihoods and their ability to pay their mortgage and send their kids to college and put food on their table is the result of working in an industry that powers literally, the United States of America. Oil and coal and natural gas. And I think in light of recent events, I think people really need to take a step back and question our dependence on these resources and what we really think about regulation and what we think about when we think about safe working environments. I mean, I was bitching about the fact that it was 85 degrees in here. I had a heat headache. And when I hear stories about this and think about what these people do on a regular basis, it really puts things into perspective. But I just want everybody to think about that. Think about your work conditions and, compare that to what people do in other occupations. And then really think about what it means in our quest to power everything that we have as we listen to our computers, as we put apps on our iPhone, and think about this because it all goes back to these resources, our electrical sources, our sources to get into our cars and do what we need to do. I think it's really time to have a conversation about that in this country. But that time is not now, not on Unfiltered. We're not going to do that because right now it's time to throw a couple of people in the dungeon. Somebody pissed me off today. In fact, on my Facebook profile, my personal one, I said that a word came to my mouth that I utter maybe once a year. And I put a link to this story. We're talking about Shannon Price here, the ex-wife of Gary Coleman. Put a link to the story up on my Facebook page. Said when I read about what she's done, it made a word come to mind that I rarely utter. Somebody commented on my post. And they said, does it start with a C? And I said, yes, it does. And that word does not rhyme with rock. It rhymes with another word. Let me tell you about this. As we all know, we gave condolences to Gary Coleman. Passed away recently, an icon. He was really he was actually, I would say, the most popular television star for about 3 years there. Passed away from a brain hemorrhage. We've talked about it on the show. And I was actually having a conversation with the interns last week, and we were discussing the 911 call that Shannon made, and it was very odd. And she would not put her hands on Gary, who was her husband, because she said she couldn't stand the blood. She couldn't drive him anywhere because she said she was going to have a seizure. Just very odd. I mean, if I was telling the interns, if one of them happened to fall over and gashed their head, and I called 911, and they said to stop the bleeding, I would wrap my hand up in something, and I would have my hands on them, obviously covered, but doing my best to stop the flow of blood. And, I don't know these people. These people are not my spouses, my blood. This is just what you do for your fellow human being. She wouldn't do it. But you know what she would do? She's been talking about money, and there had been reports that they really weren't that well off financially. Get this, exactly. That's really what they were making it sound like they were living with, was just change, chump change, which is very sad considering that he was one of the most famous people in America for 3 years on TV there. Get this, according to TMZ, and TMZ, I got to give them their props. They break a lot of stories. A lot of, major mainstream media outlets reference TMZ. TMZ, that's right. They are in their offices typing away, getting the stories. TMZ has reported that there are photographs of Gary Coleman's final moments among the living. That's right. Exactly. You know where the story's going. As he sat in the hospital, photographs were taken. Sources tell TMZ. Sources say 3 of the 4 photos, which Gary's ex-wife, Shannon Price, orchestrated, may hit the stands as early as this week. Get this, one of the photos that sold has Shannon posing next to a bed, written Gary, who is riddled with tubes going everywhere. There's a report that Shannon is going to get a cut of the profits. Get this, not only photos were taken when Gary was living in the condition that he was, with tubes going everywhere, there's also a photo taken after he died. Shannon was trying to deny that any of this went on. Get this, our sources say Shannon is featured in one of the photos, according to TMZ. It has even been reported that Shannon Price had a production company shoot the photos. You get in your yellow pages, find photographers. Shannon Price orchestrated the photographing of her husband as he lay on his deathbed, and she wouldn't stop there. She continued taking photos after he passed away and was no longer of this mortal coil, and has a photograph of that, and she's getting a cut of the profits. This is disgusting. I'm angry. I'm also just kind of pissed off in general, because it just seems like this stuff goes on in our society. And maybe I'm guilty as well. Maybe I should be pissed off at myself too, because I know that I'll probably look at these images. But right now, you know where Shannon Price is going. She's going down in the dungeon. And let me tell you, Shannon, we don't have photographs down there. We don't have photographers. You're going to be lucky to even get one full meal. Your meal tickets run out, Shannon, here on the Unfiltered Show. This is disgusting behavior. It makes me question everything that led up to him actually being, taken to the hospital. Makes me question what really went on in that house, and that's just me. That's just how that's the only reaction I can have. But point is, Shannon, you're down in the dungeon. Enjoy your time there. I hope selling... See, I'm getting choked up about this. I'm so angry. I hope that selling these photos makes you a very, very, very happy... I was going to say young lady. She's not young. She looks like an old bag. And you know what? By the time you get out of the dungeon, you're going to look like an old hag. So I hope it was worth it. Despicable, disgusting, you make me sick.